crypto assets. Which one's the best? 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 What's the second best?
This is Discover Crypto. Everybody smash the like buttons for a green day. Bitcoin is pumping right now. We're having a great time. Pumptober has started early. I missed you guys all. I was sick all last week, still getting over it a little bit today, but happy to be back. And I apparently, DZ's got it now. He's got something in his eye, so he's out this morning, but I'm back. I'll be joined today with Kelly Kellum, the one and only Kelly from the BitLab Academy. We're going to be breaking down the charts, telling you guys what you can expect for this upcoming month in Q4, and talking about a lot of fun ETF stuff coming in. So I see you guys in the chat. I see you guys all saying hello. Yes, I missed you all. I'm glad to be back. Kelly's here as well. Pre-Rich, we're doing well. Smash the like buttons. But Kelly, how are you feeling this morning?
I'm feeling good. We're seeing a nice market move to the upside as we speak right now. The question is going to be, are we going to go down and tap that CME futures gap that's below? It's nice to see, though, that it's not one of those major ones, just a small $300 area as it stands. But the market is starting to wake up a little bit. We're seeing a little bit of green in the market. If we look at this on the top gainers, Zcash, I mean, I can't believe this is still around, but Zcash up 18%, pump. Fun, and a shout out to the pump community. I know we'll probably be live there in a second. Shout out them. We got them. You know, they had that.
I totally forgot about that.
That's why I softball pitched it over to you.
Yeah.
But Pump Fun had that sort of media debacle with the Hollywood sign there, so they're a little bit in the headlines. But Mantle, SPX 6900, Murad's going to be very happy that they're finally up a little bit there. But we're seeing some good things in the market right now. You know, we've got a lot of catalysts. We're going to be diving into some really incredible news stories that are setting up for that October that I think a lot of people were waiting on. A lot of people were hoping for. And I just want to call out in September, everybody was highlighting the fact that September is historically a fairly bad month for markets, not Bitcoin and altcoins and your meme coins, but markets in general. And yet we had a little bit of a run up into the mid September timeframe because we had that very, very highly anticipated FOMC meeting in the middle of the month. I think it was the 18th of September. And so the price action that moved to the upside going in that run up to the FOMC rate cut decision all of a sudden made people forget that September is a fairly bad month. And so now we saw the price action pull back a little bit. If we can actually come over here to the chart, we can see in September, let's actually go to this chart right here. In September, look at this. This is coming right into that FOMC meeting. We got the news. What tends to happen? Buy the rumor, sell the news. And in this case right here, everybody goes, the market topped because we're having a pullback. The market topped because we're having a pullback. And I know all of us here at Discover Crypto, all of you that are here in the Disco fam, all of you, we realize that these downside price actions that catch so many people off guard is only catching people off guard when they don't have a plan. Because now what we're seeing is a rebound in price action. Now, does this mean it's up only from here? It does not. It means that we've got a nice impulse to the upside. And on any impulse to the upside, you want to watch. I don't want to say wait, but you want to let the market constructively give you signals. So this moved great. What I like to see is on any sort of retrace where the bulls come back and defend, whether it's here at the 111 mark, whether it's even all the way back down here to test this level, still forming higher lows in this zone. The question is going to be what happens in October. And we're going to highlight here over this next 45 minutes or hour, some of the very, very bullish framework that's coming into October beyond us just being hopeful that the market moves up. But I got to ask everybody in chat, did you have a good weekend? Are you grateful this morning? Let's start this week with some gratitude. Let's start this week with some forgiveness for stupid mistakes we've made, for ways we've talked to other people, the ways we've engaged with ourselves and our minds and our hearts. Let's look at this market as opportunity and figure out where to take the best positions, because that's what this is about. We'll highlight some news stories. We'll highlight some targets and levels, but it all comes down with how you interact and catch these swings in price action. What you got, TJ?
No, I love that. I love that. I was going to say I'm grateful for Falcons win yesterday. Bijan looking like a beast, one of the best runners I've seen in probably 20 years, maybe in my lifetime. But maybe Ryan reminds me a lot of. I mean, not as small as Barry Sanders, but he just makes people miss like that. That flow is insane. So grateful for fall, grateful for football. Grateful for green candles last night, great, and this morning. And I really do believe Q4 is going to bring what a lot of you guys are waiting for. I've been reading some of the comments in the past week. Oh, boo! Oh, what are you, a Saints fan or something, Nicole? Or maybe yeah. Anyway, maybe a Commanders fan because we beat you guys down yesterday. But I've been reading the comments. I can tell there's definitely some frustration from some of you guys in the market, especially those of you that came in. It seems like even like a lot of 22, 23 people that entered the market then, which we're up pretty solid on Bitcoin. I'm very happy with Bitcoin's performance. I'm not surprised in anything that we've been seeing from altcoins. I do want to caution you all, though, that are expecting somewhat of a 2017 like alt season. I do believe we've mostly left the times where the entire market pumps at the same time behind us, and you really do need to be in strong projects that are in the meta. Obviously, we've seen plenty of runners these past couple months, like Aster has been one that CZ is still continually pushing. I think we'll continue to see catch a bid. Be careful chasing too many DEX platforms. I know Apex got a pump recently, but that one's been around a very long time. So I do think continue to pick altcoins with strong revenue. Bitcoin is going to continue to perform well. We had Eric Trump, I don't know if it was yesterday or previously in the week, referring to that he thinks we're going to be back to quantitative easing very soon. And that's something that I'm very focused on. As soon as we get easing from both the Fed and the Treasury at the same time, that's what creates that full risk on environment. And I do think we're going to see that in Q4. I haven't been shaken off my targets of, I've been for years calling for 180 to 220. I still think that's within play. Definitely 150 before the end of this year. So I think we're going to have a great Christmas, and I'm excited for us all to get there. Grateful for this time in the market. Grateful to get a lot of the noise behind us, and yeah, keep pressing forward. So
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't agree more. And it all starts, of course, with Bitcoin in the crypto market. Now, of course, Bitcoin is going to follow the broader global financial trends. But when we're just looking at this chart, this is from Caleb Franzen, one of my 4 bullish alerts just triggered for Bitcoin, price trying to break back above the 21 and 55-day exponential moving averages. And you can see it on this chart. Now, whether or not we get through on this move right now is not necessarily relevant. We're watching right here. If we reject at this level, we know there's 2 key trend lines right here. So what you want to see on a rejection is stronger data on any sort of pullback from here, that you're forming a higher low or much stronger bullish divergences coming into this, because we do have liquidity below us. We cannot forget that, going into this weekend, all the liquidity was above us, meaning so many people were shorting, but now we've got a lot of liquidity below us. So I'm not saying we're going to go there, but know that we have a CME futures gap below us, and we have all of these longs that have piled up. So let's just watch what happens, because as we're looking at this right here on this CME futures chart, we do have this $300 or $400 gap that's not too far down below us. And this is quite a ways above these lows. That would be basically in this region right here where that CME futures gap is. But we're just going to keep an eye on this, because there's a lot of things looking forward as to what's going on here. And I do want to highlight, last week, I pointed out this fear and greed signal, which isn't going to be a buy or sell metric, but it's one of those ingredients when you're trying to formulate your decision as to what to do to navigate this market. And we printed a 28. Basically, that's how low the fear went, way down in this range here, in the area that when you see these dark red or orangish dots, that tends to be when markets reverse. And this is no small baby reversal. This is like an 18 or 20% pump out of this dip here. And ultimately, we finally got this sort of launch pad here, the spring boom that pushed us from about 48,000 up to 109,000. Again, here we went from about 74,000 up to $124,600. And then finally we got that 28. And what do you know? When everybody got scared, the market now has reversed in the opposite direction. So what's going on in this market. Let's take a look at the landscape, because BlackRock, and I want to highlight something specifically on this. There's so much misinformation or misunderstanding, ignorance around BlackRock bought or BlackRock sold. Over this last year and a half, since the ETFs went live, January 10th, they got approved. January 11th, they went live. This is 2024. And what we're seeing is all these headlines: BlackRock bought this much, BlackRock sold this much. Almost all of those posts are kind of irrelevant, because what they're actually highlighting is that customers that went and bought the BlackRock IBIT shares, then BlackRock has to go buy on account of the end user, on the consumers, on the customers there in their accounts. But this headline right here is different. This is different. BlackRock raises Bitcoin exposure by 38% in its $17.1 billion global allocation fund. This is not the end user out there buying. This is BlackRock in the management of their funds for exposure. And what we're seeing here is pretty substantial, because I mean, it's up 38.4 since during the second quarter. But what's most impressive here is if you look back over the last year, this exposure is up 403%. That's 4x from basically BlackRock themselves betting on the outcome of price go up for Bitcoin. And this is the largest asset manager in the history of global financial markets. So this is impressive to see. Not only are they selling Bitcoin exposure through their ETF to their customers, but also they're putting their money and their allocations behind it, which is phenomenal. Now, go ahead.
No, it's just, yeah, it's huge to see them upping their allocations. We're also seeing a lot of financial advisors recommending larger and larger amounts. You know, first it was like, oh, 1 or 2%. Now we're starting to see 3%, 4%, 5%, 10%, depending on your risk profile and all those sorts of things. So it's substantial to track the ETF movements, is obviously as their customers continue to pile in. But what BlackRock themselves are doing, and Larry Fink himself, is this is a very substantial update. I think we're going to continue to see this major institutions getting more and more Bitcoin. We've already seen, and we'll probably cover it a little bit later in the show, what's been happening with gold. People are definitely looking for and moving towards alternatives to government bonds, alternatives to being in the dollar. And there's so much money on the sidelines right now, and it appears that it's going to be flowing into crypto. I think we're going to see it in Q4. I'm also in the camp that I think the 4-year cycle is ending here. We can't call it dead until it happens. So we still have to get through Q4 and get into 2026. I still think we see a big pump in Q4. I do think we see a small drawdown early 26, but not what we've seen in 4-year cycle traditional in the past. And I think we're still going to have a bullish 26, a bullish 27, and we're going to operate much more similarly to what we've seen in the equities markets and the S&P going forward. And I'm just the more I look over the long-term macro data, the more bullish I get for 26, 27, 28, 29. I've never been more confident that we're going to see a 1 million plus Bitcoin in the near future, and way beyond that. I've never been more confident than I am right now today. And it's really just accumulate Bitcoin season, and don't sell it, sit on your hands, and you will have financial freedom for you and probably at least your next generation, if not your entire bloodline, depending on how aggressively you accumulate.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't agree more. You know, one of the champions of this that has done it over and over and on repeat. Not only has he been doing it himself for his company for what they're doing with strategy, Michael Saylor is buying tops, bottoms, middles. So he's buying basically anytime he can raise money to get it in the market. And we see strategy adds another $22 million in Bitcoin, now holds more than 640,000 Bitcoin. This is incredible. And in fact, last week, he also said, Saylor predicted that Bitcoin's price would start to rise towards the end of the year after facing, and this is a key point I want everybody to focus on. And this goes back to what I was just highlighting with the fear and the greed. after facing a period of pressure from growing institutional adoption. So on the one hand, we have the best, most asymmetric bet right now with what's happening with Bitcoin, with nation states, sovereign bodies out there racing to get their plans together in order to stack into Bitcoin, to mine Bitcoin, corporate treasuries, institutions, big high net worth individuals racing. And yet at the same time, we're seeing the price action chop. We're seeing the price action move down. We're seeing people be scared. This is what they want from you. It is not their job to hold your hand through you getting to a next strata in your economic sort of where you fit in your life economically. Okay. In order to make money in markets, you need to have conviction and do the diligence on the assets that you're investing in and realize the markets move up and down. And in fact, in bull trends, the most defining thing of a bull trend is you get rise, retrace, continuation, and the retraces wreck everybody. So on days like today, or weeks like this week, or years like this last year, where the world is literally opening its arms to embrace Bitcoin, and we see a very minuscule move to the downside, this is something that I find alarming for people that need to take that next step up and keep fumbling the bag, because it's just getting better from here.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you look at it, it might be worth us doing a video on this, and at least investigating a long-term Wyckoff distribution pattern, because I do think we've been in a long-term accumulation pattern. A lot of the wealthiest people in the world are just now starting to get exposure to Bitcoin, and they know how to get exposure to the market without jacking the price up so that they can get their money in over time. That might be something to look at for a video later this week. But I did want to say, I do want to stop for a second and pause. I really appreciate everybody that's watching right now. We've got close to 1,000 people watching. We love all of you guys. You are our dedicated, loyal following. It really means a lot to us. That being said, we've got 1,000 people in here and only 148 likes. If you guys don't know, YouTube has been doing a lot of changes in their terms of service recently. A lot of channels have been getting deleted and banned and suppressed and all this sorts of stuff. They're kind of even getting pressure from Congress on this. We noticed since this started happening, probably about a 30% difference in all of our numbers. They're not pushing the stream out the way they used to. So if you guys could take 1 second, stop what you're doing, hit that like button. There's no reason we shouldn't see that up over 500. There's 1,000 people of you watching. Even if 50% of you do it, that would be a huge help. And if the more we can do that over this next week to kind of shock the algorithm and tell it, hey, we like this content, we want to see more of this type of content, we'd really appreciate it. If you guys are watching on mobile, sometimes you need to X out of the live chat to see the like button. They've kind of hidden it a little bit on mobile, and I know it's kind of a pain. If you just exit, hit the button, and then jump right back in, you won't miss anything. But we're gonna run this ad real quick for our partner Arculus, and that should give you plenty of time to hit the button. And we'll be right back. We just wanted to take a quick second to shout out our sponsor, Arculus. They are a cold storage hardware wallet, helps you secure all of your digital assets for the future. Just tap this thing to the back of your phone and boom, you're in. We wouldn't be able to do this without them, but also wouldn't be able to do this without you guys, the Disco fam. You've supported us a lot over the years. If you want to support the channel now, just use the code DC20. It gets you 20% off this card. It's the #1 way you can support this channel going forward. Thank you for your support. We'll see you at the top. Pre-Rich says show some skin, that might get some clicks. We'll save that for the pump fund stream. That's not for the tubes. The Kelly's got it. He's got the moves with it. But anyway, really appreciate you guys. I just wanted to make that ask, and we'll get back to the content.
Yeah, I mean, just so you all know, it has nothing to do with our egos or stroking our spirit, hitting the like button. It literally has a direct impact on how the algorithm interacts with our content and either suggests it to other people or not. So we can keep the lights on, baby. But I want to highlight something, because we were just talking about this sort of chop in the price. Even last week on Monday, there was an acknowledgement, $1.47 billion worth of Bitcoin purchases. And over the rest of the week, we saw the price actually move to the downside. How could that be? Well, we also see gold price. Look at this. Gold prices have gone absolutely parabolic, exponential. And so while people are worried, when we see the fear and greed index ticking 28, when all the indicators are suggesting things like, $300,000 Bitcoin price target becoming increasingly likely, And yet people are scared, dumping their bags, donating their hard-earned capital to a rich guy that's already got 3 boats and 2 vacation houses. This is where you need to lock in, because people are now wondering, isn't the top end? We're this far past the halving and it's supposed to be it. But now we're seeing gold go parabolic. We're seeing the lack of trust, or let's just say the trust is decaying and evaporating in the US dollar and in fiat systems. But then people go, but Bitcoin's failing to follow gold. Gold is moving. Maybe we need to just not invest in Bitcoin. Maybe we go in gold. Realize that there's capital rotation between different asset classes. And Bitcoin tends to follow 3 to 4 months after. Why is this? Just like when we look at Bitcoin to ETH to top caps to mid caps, memes, how we see this capital rotation in the crypto market. The same thing is true in the global financial structure out there. When everybody is, when you see the demand on gold still running and stock market still just absolutely blasting new all-time highs, there's no incentive, especially right now when you have these major institutional and Wall Street players that are starting to become aware and starting to have some appetite for Bitcoin. Why are they going to start to change their allocations or where their focus and capital is while gold is printing incredibly? Now, I'm not saying that you shouldn't invest in gold. I'm just saying when you're looking at these different asset classes, realize that this is actually a good thing that Bitcoin's not running away yet. It still gives you time. It gives us all time to stack and stop sulking because the price isn't moving right now how I want it. The market's never going to do what you want. So stack when everybody else is scared and sell when everybody else is excited. That's the number one thing I can hint at here. But getting back to this article, we see $300,000 Bitcoin target. Okay. Bitcoin is failing to follow gold so far, but it's indicated that typically 3 to 4 months later, we'll see this. But remember, when we're looking at this, what does this mean? Well, let's talk about it. Sudden drop to $108,000 last week. And remember, we talked about those drops. Oh my God, people are losing their minds. 13% drawdown. And I have a chart for you here in a moment that's going to just shake all this nonsense out of your brain. And I really hope you pay attention to it, because we're basically about a 12-13% drawdown from the high of 124.5. Okay. So people are worried that the market cycle has peaked, while the entire global financial structure is setting up to literally infuse more and more capital in this asset class. Despite this drawdown, some analysts argue that Bitcoin's bull market has not even started, citing the performance relative to gold. So Bitcoin trend tends to follow 3 to 4 months down the line, blah, blah, blah. If this were to hold, then, we're now ready to start getting that spike into what? October and absolutely Moonvember. This is what we're coming into right now. And I do think it's more likely than not just for Bitcoin. I think altcoins are going to finally shake off the dust off those bull market wheels that everybody keeps expecting, and now they're giving up on. And we're going to show you a chart that shows you why I think that's very likely as well. But here's gold. And if we are following, we're coming right into this apex on Bitcoin right now, which would indicate, if we are going to track this performance, likely seeing upside price action. Now, do I think that we're going exactly to around $300,000? I don't know. I'm giving it a range, somewhere between 180 to 240. So probably my number is $187,000. But then
that's the same. I have almost the same range, 180 to 220. I've been saying 200, give or take 20 either direction for a long time. So I like that. That's good. It's confluence.
But it's important to notice, pull us back up, dual screen. It's important to notice or recognize that me saying $187,000 top is an ironic and stupid statement, because when you really understand where Bitcoin is going, there is no top, because there is no bottom on any fiat system out there. We're putting an additional $1 to $1.2 trillion in debt every 2 to 3 months. And we're signing new bills into Congress and into legislation that require more money. We're doing more of a budget deficit every single day. They have to print. What happens with the new money? New liquidity flows into these investment asset classes in droves. So will we have a pullback at some point? Yes. But I do believe, like you said, I think we're going to be stepping up for the next several years. And will we get a 35% pullback? Sure. Will we get a 45? Who knows? But 300K, I mean, is predestined. A million predestined. 5 million predestined. The question is, will you be there when it happens?
I'm so glad you said that, because I've been having that conversation with a lot of different people lately when they say, "Oh, are you going to sell the top?" And I'm like, "You mean the top for this year? Because this is not the forever top. It's going to continue stair stepping. And if you look at the structure of the price and the chart and all that stuff, we've never been a more systematic structure than what we're in right now, where it's a much healthier move up, where we move up and consolidate, move up and consolidate, move up and consolidate. I think that's going to continue. And yes, we will be over $1 million. So yeah, is 200K the top? Is 180 the top? Is 300 the top? No, it's not the top. It's a local top. And we will definitely see drawdowns at different points. We will definitely see volatility. But it's like a lot of the Mag 7, a lot of the Apple and Tesla, and a lot of those Meta, Google, Alphabet, a lot of those stocks, they've experienced a lot of volatility. And I was thinking about this over the weekend. A lot of people especially traditional investors, like to talk about, oh, Bitcoin has a lot of volatility. Doesn't it draw down like 30 to 50% sometimes? I'm like, yeah, so does Tesla's experienced a lot of volatility. Nvidia's experienced a lot of volatility. As long as you're getting higher lows and volatility to the upside, that's a good thing. You want volatility in your investments, because that means they have movement and action and energy in the market. And so I 100% agree. People are way, way, way too fixated on local tops. And that's why I'm trying to set the stage. I know this channel largely popularized the 4-year cycle. We were the ones who really educated the retail market on how to make money in the 4-year cycle, the halving cycle, and how that impacted Bitcoin. Every halving has less of an impact on Bitcoin just by nature. The drop from 50 to 25 is going to be a bigger supply shock than the drop from 25 to 12.5, or from 12.5 to 6.2, or, whatever it is. You keep going down and down. I think we're over 3.125 now, and then it's going to drop even more in the future. So each time that happens, it has less impact. So the 4-year cycle is phasing out, in my opinion, and it's much more about the global debt cycle, which is what you just mentioned, Kelly. The printing and the big beautiful bill, that $3 trillion plus of spending, that hasn't even really started kicking in yet. That's going to start kicking in next year. And they've also, again, what got me extremely bullish, they've talked about 3 more spending bills on top of the big beautiful bill. So that is what fuels the print. That's what's driving gold up right now. That's what's silver's at an all-time high for the first time in 45 years. That stuff is all driven by the macro debt cycle and the beginning of the lack of confidence in this debt. So it's really going to be, again, you guys hear me talking about commodities, gold, silver, Bitcoin, even real estate. I am slightly concerned about real estate in the macro. I don't want to go hard on it, because real estate always does fine in the long term. But I do think gold and Bitcoin, really Bitcoin is starting to step up as the new premier store of value asset. And that's one of the reasons real estate has prevailed so well, is because people do use that to store value. But I think over time, Bitcoin's just going to be, the more and more people that understand Bitcoin,
well, TJ, you know what Grant Cardone, not Gary, but Grant, the real estate magnate, you know what he said the other day on a Spaces? They were talking about the $44 million, it's like 400 Bitcoin listing he had for his Malibu mansion.
Yeah.
And he said, he actually, even though he listed it, he goes, it would be stupid to spend 400 Bitcoin to buy that house. And somebody said, why? He said, well, because Bitcoin is a better asset. If you think about it, yes. Do I think real estate's bad or having land is bad? No, but there's different considerations. When you have a house, you have to, the roof, the maintenance, the taxes, what's happening with the impacts of the neighbors, or how the demographic of the area is changing in terms of, valuation going up, going down. There's so much outside influence, and the continued cost to maintain ownership of that property. Whereas Bitcoin, you buy it, and then you decide to sell it at some point in the future. Or now Bitcoin is financialized, so you can borrow against it. And kind of compounding on what you said a moment ago, Dave Weisberger here also even highlighted this the other day. He said the Bitcoin 4-year cycle is no longer relevant. The supply shocks are too small to move the markets. And this just isn't a tourist in the space. farming for clicks. This person has been in markets for, I'm 41, about to be 42. He's been in markets longer than I've been alive on Wall Street. He's also been in crypto for about a better part of 8 or 9 years. He gets it. And he understands that when you're having a supply and demand dynamic like you have in Bitcoin, and the impact that excitement's also going to bring to the rest of the ecosystem, and demand is only increasing from here, and there's nothing, and the market is just starting to realize this. This is the only asset we've ever had that you can't change or fluctuate or gate the flow of new supply coming in to help shape the price, like you can with diamonds, like you can with gold, like you can with any other asset. Okay, with Bitcoin, there's 21 million total. That's it. Now, the caveat with this is now we have all these corporate treasuries out there. And so there is a little bit of debate on, the sort of paper Bitcoin versus, all these stocks that you're buying as representations of a proxy. But that's a whole nother story. But we got some other things we want. What's that?
Yeah, that's its derivatives. And there'll always be derivatives and paper contracts and financial people trying to make financial products so that they can get a commission selling them. That's never going to go away. But owning and holding your own assets is the key. I do want to make a correction. I see the guy saying silver is not an all-time high. You're right. All-time high was $49 and change, and it's $47 and change. So I should have said nearing an all-time high for the first time in 45 years. So in 1980, it was $49. Today, it's $47. But I believe it will be at an all-time high very soon. So yeah, just wanted to correct that for the one guy that really knows silver in the chat. So
well, go ahead, and I wanted to continue on. You brought up the volatility. People have that argument. It's an ill-founded argument because you think of things. You mentioned NVIDIA. Well, let's pull up this story we already have prepped. Expect major. Oh my God, it's so scary. Scary that there's going to be opportunity for you all to buy the dips. Expect major Bitcoin corrections before new all-time highs, says analyst. Okay. Bitcoin will perform like NVIDIA and record several major corrections on its path to new all-time highs. Well, when you scroll down here and realize, and this is Bitcoin and NVIDIA. So you tell me, Bitcoin has volatility? Well, look at the correlation and the amount of volatility we're seeing in NVIDIA as well, and realize that the volatility, for those that are paying attention, one, you can either buy the dips, or two, you can understand that this is normal part of an emerging market. One, yes, NVIDIA is in an emerging market with AI and chips and computers. We're still early in that stage. And Bitcoin, of course, entering the world stage. Well, let's go back in time, shall we? Let's look at 2017 and realize that this was a trip from $169. That's right. Only in 2015, 10 years ago, we were $169 and went all the way up here to just shy of $20,000, $19,004. Well, look at these dips along the way. They don't look too bad, right? Well, I can tell you because I was there. It is a nightmare if you're not understanding what's going on. These are those dips. Just to give you context, 41% down, 27% down, 13% down. None of these are bear markets. 39% down, 34% down, 32. You just see it goes over and over and over, shaking the living life out of people that are emotional in this market. And then we come back over to where we're at right now, and you realize, holy moly, I cannot believe that we just moved down 12%. I should be shaking in my boots.
Yeah, no, it cracks me up. You guys wonder why 10, 12, 15, 20, 30% doesn't even phase us. Like, for example, the reason I was screaming at the chat out when we were under 80K, 78K, 76K, and I was saying, trust me, this is a correction for buying the dip. I actually, even over the weekend or end of last week, when we were sub 110, I said, I'm buying more here. Like, these pullbacks are gifts. And the reason they don't phase us at all is because of what you just highlighted there, Kelly. Like, I've seen 50% pullbacks all the time, 30% every, month, every few weeks. And so it's like, to see a 10%, it's like, I don't even really feel it anymore. To see something go from 115 to 108 or 120 to 108, it's just like, oh, okay. So it's a slight pullback on Bitcoin, but it doesn't really phase me. So if you guys are new, if you've been buying it, and it's interesting, a lot of people I talk to have been buying since 22, 23. They got in the 60s or, bought around 60K, and now they're looking at 120 and they're nervous. Like, oh, I'm up. I've 2x'd my money. And, what if it goes all the way back down to 60K? And it's like, if it goes, I don't think it'll go back down to 60, but I wouldn't be shaken out even to see it below 100K again, or even again at 80K or 70K. I was saying, load up the truck, go all in. I was selling houses, selling cars to buy at those levels, and I'm going to continue to stack and stack. And the more time we get, like, my hope is, I'll be honest, I do not want it to run away in October. I'm excited for all of you guys. I do think October, November is going to be very bullish. I'm counting on that. But I'm getting a bunch of cash later this month, and I really hope I get a chance. I might just ape it all. I don't really know what I'm going to do yet. I'll keep you guys in the loop. But just stack Bitcoin and use alts to get more Bitcoin. But I would, for you, rather than having like a net worth goal, and if you guys don't have financial goals, you should have goals for all areas of your life: relational, spiritual, mental, physical, financial. That's a pretty good 5 to keep an eye on. But if you do have financial goals, I highly recommend you price them in Bitcoin. So don't say I have $1 million net worth, or 10 million, or 100 million, or billion, or whatever it is you're going for. Say I want 10 Bitcoin, or I want 100 Bitcoin, or I want 1 Bitcoin, whatever it is. Set that goal for yourself and track it that way. And the way you make decisions will probably change a little bit. And again, if you think Bitcoin's going to be $1 million by 2030 and you can get to 10 Bitcoin, you'll be happy in the not too distant future. Or if you're not already happy, you should be happy now. Don't let money, don't think money is going to make you happy, because it isn't. It's all about relationships and people, and loving others. So if you can get into that mindset early, it will set you up for happiness the rest of your life.
No, I mean, I couldn't agree more. And, even I'm in quite a few altcoins, and my whole goal is Bitcoin. My goal with altcoins is Bitcoin. And if the narrative develops over time with things like Chainlink and Ethereum's kind of already there. Chainlink's on the cusp of really substantiating itself as that, top cap blue chip of being integrated in the global financial layer. But the point here is, when we're trading, I just want to shout out another channel partner we have, Bitcoin IRA. You can day trade. And this is not some shill for a retirement account because they're a partner. No, this is smart strategy. If you are going to be around for the next 15, 20 years, and you are looking to create some sort of boundary or protection and mindset for long-term gains, you should be contributing your minimum amount or your maximum amount. I mean, and they'll tell you, I think it's like 7,000 or something like that if you're in the US, but you can day trade your alts here. And then when you have profits, rotate them into Bitcoin and not lose 15, 20, 30, 40, 50% that you're paying to taxes, which impacts over the 20, 30-year period. It could be a $3, $4, $5 million difference. So make sure you check them out, bitcoinira.com. You can give them a call, 1-877-936-7175. But then I want to get back to the charts, guys. I want to get back to these charts because we're talking about all the price action and but it's feeling a little toppy. But we're talking about higher price action of what's coming in. Because remember, going into October, we've got some major catalysts. One of those things is $5 billion in stable coins are getting sent back to creditors. $5 billion. These are people that are crypto natives to some degree that have been sidelined. $5 billion in crypto money that was in the crypto ecosystem has been sidelined since the FTX collapse back in late 2022. Now, can we expect $5 billion going back into the market because these are crypto people? No, and I think that's silly to think so. But 5%, 10%, I think that's far too low. If I had to guess, it'd probably be somewhere in the 40 to 70, that 50, 60% range getting rotated back in. TJ, what would you say about this 5 billion?
Yeah, I think that's going to be a huge catalyst to pump the market. I mean, there's a lot of things coming in October, November, and I think I think you're right. I do think most of that money, I'm not sure if they might be paying it in crypto. So I'm not sure if they're paying it in dollars or crypto. Yeah, there's stable coins. So perfect. Yes, most of those people are very savvy crypto investors. If you were trading on FTX, usually a big part of the reason people traded on there was it was a good user experience for high volume and high dollar traders. So a lot of those people have been in crypto for a long time. They're very sophisticated, and they're not going to leave it in dollars. I can tell you that much. They know enough not to stay in the dollar that's losing 10+% a year. So I believe, yes, more than 50% of that will be flowing back into the market. I do think it's extremely bullish for Solana specifically, which we're going to cover some other Solana and XRP ETF news a little bit later in the show. But Solana, obviously, for better or worse, had a very close association with FTX. A lot of the FTX traders on there were Solana whales. So I do believe when that money comes back, some of it goes into Solana, some of it goes into Bitcoin, and some of it goes into some of the other major top 20 to 50 projects out there right now. And so, yes, and if you can look at Voyager and Celsius and a lot of the other distributions that have already happened from the same era. And most of that money remained in crypto or went back into crypto. I know a lot of people that were caught up in some of this, and almost every single person that I know, as soon as they got that money back, put it directly into crypto, almost instantly. So this is something to keep an eye on. There's a lot of bullish catalysts, this being one of them. $5 billion obviously is no small number. It's not going to dramatically move the market instantly. But especially with these being largely, they're not as much institutions, so they will probably be buying on exchanges, not OTC, not off the order books, which will impact the market. So I think 5 billion on an exchange will have much more of an impact than a 5 billion OTC purchase, which is what a lot of these treasury companies are doing.
Well, and you know what that is too, that this actually speaks to what's happening in the market, where people say, how could we have last Monday $1.47 billion in Bitcoin being purchased and the price hasn't moved? It's exactly to what you just said. We see in the on-chain data that there's a bit of a rotation going on with not all, but some very sort of longer-term OG legacy holders that are taking some profits because they bought 5,000, 10,000, mined 15,000 Bitcoin way back in 2010, 11, 12, 13, that time frame, that is now selling in blocks to some of these corporate treasuries and large institutional players. But here's the deal. I do want to keep in focus that Bitcoin, even in altcoins, Bitcoin should be of some focus in what you're doing. If you're trading meme coins, you still need to pay attention to Bitcoin. If you're trading altcoins, you still need to be paying attention to Bitcoin. One, because it's a great metric. It's the key metric on the risk narrative of crypto. But also, if you're trading alts without having some sort of Bitcoin longer-term time horizon, then I don't want to say you're doing it wrong, but you're not doing it right. Okay. So Bitcoin being in focus, let's remember that. But then remember that there's so much money to be made if you do it right in the altcoin ecosystem. And one of those things, we have 5 billion from the FTX, right? Getting redeployed. And then look at the others chart. I want you all to realize this. Look at this others chart. This is back in 2017, 2018 into this run in 2020. Notice this shape here and what we're seeing. I want you just to see where we are at right now. Look at how similar these are. The only thing that's missing here is a big washout to the downside. And we know what this was. This was when the world's economy shut down. So will we get that? Maybe, maybe not. But we do see the breach above here, deviation, and a breach below here, bearish deviation. Well, we got the bullish deviation here. We may or may not get this, but the point here, the general trend after this resolved was up like this. Now, are we going to get the same move? Because this went up to like the fib extension 6.618 or something so off. I don't think that's going to be the case. I do think we're going to see a lot of movement to the upside. The question is going to be, at what point do you rotate out? And the reason why I think this is going to happen, not only the 5 billion coming in, but also right now, as we speak, CBOS is going on. Chainlink is out there. And look at this. They are partnering with major players. I think it's 24 if I got it correct. Yeah, 24 of the world's largest financial organizations, including SWIFT, DTCC, Euroclear, all of these. I mean, just major institutions that Chainlink's integrating with. In addition to that, we also see that CZ, because CZ was banned from touching centralized exchanges, he's now more motivated than ever to focus on DEXs like Aster. And this does have audio, but I don't want to go in and out of screen share to share it. Essentially, you can see the words on the screen there. It says, because I'm forced not to touch centralized exchanges now, the decentralized ecosystem is getting more attention. So this is what CZ is saying. And remember, he is tied in. He's one of the key advisors for Aster. So while we come over here and we look at, let's actually pull it up. When we look at the Aster chart, and I want to kick myself in the leg. I was looking at this when it was it pushed up. I thought I missed the boat, and I said maybe if it drops back to the golden pocket, boom, drop back to the golden pocket. I was like, well, no, I think it's just overhyped, and then just completely launched out of here, and now setting up another bullish formation, falling wedge right within this. We're getting some, a little bit of weakness, I would say, in money flow and RSI. But also, one of the things I will say about an asset like this that is so young in the ecosystem, but also has the number one KOL in crypto being CZ, I think this is more likely than not to see some upside price action. Not only do we have this massive bull flag here with the target up here above, it's like $4.50, but this looks to me like the market did get overheated, but this is a bullish accumulation setting up the next leg, even when we just saw that conversation from CZ himself.
Yeah, no, I hit that button by mistake, but I agree 100%. A lot of people are concerned a little bit about the wallet concentration. To me, that's a bullish thing because I do believe that they're going to hold on to it. I believe that they can continue to push it. And sometimes, in crypto, you have to remember we're speculators, right? We're speculating on different things. I put it in our Discord. I think I know actually some people in our Discord got in around 50 cents. So they're crushing it. They're very happy. And it was basically on like, hey, if CZ continues to push this, it's going to probably rise. And it's not necessarily always about having the best product. It's not always about having the best distribution. Decentralization, I think, matters for Bitcoin, and it matters for Ethereum. It matters on a philosophical level for what we're doing on for certain assets. For other products, I think, like it doesn't really matter nearly as much. So I think sometimes having a centralized supply means the price has more room to the upside. So not saying you shouldn't be quick on the trigger if you're getting, if you want to take profits, you should definitely get in, take some profits, get out. We got in early and cheap. But I think we've already got initials back. So the rest is just free money to ride. And CZ has been talking about it regularly. I think but there was another tweet I saw today. I don't know if it was last night or this morning that he put out about it. So if he continues on that trend, obviously he knows how to build a good product. Obviously he knows how to build good partnerships and get distribution. So it will continue to get better and better as time goes on. And I think there's a very, I wouldn't get crazy about it, but $10 for that wouldn't shock me. And it falling back to 50 cents wouldn't shock me.
Well,
that's what
like, as this is taking place, it got into the hype cycle, right? The hype narrative mind share. But because of that, then you start having other developmental, fundamental things that start to pop off that other types of traders and investors and speculators in the market notice, like this. Congrats to Aster. Historic. I mean, look at the fees in 24 hours. I mean, overtook Tether, overtook Circle, overtook Uniswap, Aave, Hyperliquid. And so this type of thing really shows, one, a lot of activity on chain. So what happens is you're starting to onboard users to that. So even on the speculative hype of people buying, selling, whatever, because they're excited CZ's involved, now you're getting put on the radar of more fundamental investors and realizing that, one, it can handle this throughput. Two, it's got a lot of people that are getting sort of I don't want to say incentivized, but attracted to and integrated with using that ecosystem. So to me, this bodes, a more sustained future, especially with the track record we've seen from CZ. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, again, revenue, finding projects with revenue matters. Now, obviously, with DEXs and trading and volume and really anything in crypto, you guys should remember you can game these things. You can wash trade, which will create revenue. You can trade between yourselves, and that happens on basically every exchange. But that being said, sometimes you don't need to overthink it. That's what I've learned a lot in crypto. If you simplify things and keep it simple, that's usually the easiest way to make the most money. So for me, the thesis is, well, if CZ's pushing it, that's good enough for me. I don't need to get too sophisticated with it. The product works. Trading is tried and true in crypto. Derivatives trading is perpetuals trading, something that has been around for a long time. It's going to continue to be around a long time. And if CZ's supporting it, he could easily support it into the top 50, even potentially top 20. This is,
but one of the things we've learned in this market over the last 10 years that I've been in, and the 6 or 7 that you and I have been streaming and looking at this stuff, and understanding that a lot of times you see a road path, a road carved, a new path, whether it's Ethereum and that DeFi ecosystem. And then when you saw Solana start developing, or Avalanche, or these other ecosystems, you kind of have a roadmap to what to watch for and how to identify where winner is going to be. Aster just clearly proved that point following Hyperliquid, but there's still other assets out there. DZ put this on our radar. He said, this is from As Flynn says, in my opinion, the third best perp dex to farm right now after Aster and Lighter is Pacifica-Fi, aka the Hyperliquid of Solana. So if this is doing in orders of magnitude smaller amount of volume and interest right now, but if we're seeing this narrative train with capital going into this DEX Hyperliquid style ecosystem, then you might want to look for other assets that could also ride a portion of that capital train. So I'm not saying this is a buy or a sell, but this is one of those ways that you can identify things that you might want to keep your eye on.
Yeah, and I did want to hit this super chat too. Target for Link Q4 25, Q1 26, $100. I don't know if you've done some TA on this, Kelly. I do think $100 is completely achievable. One of the big things we've seen is recently they've started doing buybacks with their revenue, and their revenue is about to absolutely skyrocket. I believe it's November when they turn their fee charging live across the board for all the different institutions that they've onboarded. This is another bullish catalyst for Q4. I agree. $100 is cheap. It could go a lot higher. I'm just saying he asked specifically about $100, and I think that's very achievable. I believe Drew's looked at it around the $300 level. So the reason you continue to hear more and more bullish news, but it doesn't always show up in the price, is because they are letting people use their product for free right now, but that changes across the board in November, and everybody who's baking it into their complete every government, every institution, every chain that's building it into their framework basically will have to start paying for that soon. And it's a great business strategy. I think Chainlink's here for the long haul. It's one of the few that I would hold for 10 years plus, just because of the way they position themselves in regulation. And that's a long-term hold for me. Bitcoin's a long-term hold for me. And there's very few other things I would put in that category of like a 10-year plus hold. So I don't know what the chart's saying, if you've got anything on that, Kelly, but I did want to go ahead and hit that. So,
the first up is this massive accumulation here. This has felt like a full bull market, a full bear market, right? But when you zoom out, you realize macro timeframes also form patterns. And in this case, we have a massive symmetrical triangle. You could get overwhelmingly bullish and do something ridiculous, something like this. Take that measurement, measure this out, and the target would be, up here at $689. But that is a bit parabolic in my opinion. Could it hit that? Sure. But let's look a little bit more localized. Well, first up, we got to before we talk about $100, tackle this range right here, which is also the golden pocket of this full move. That's right at 37, 36, 37 bucks. That's going to be a key level. Next level above that, of course, is a previous all-time high, 53, 54, $55 region right in here. But then a very doable level, and I think this would be sad if Chainlink only went to this in this market cycle, would be the 1.618, the golden fib extension, which is 85, 86 bucks. The next target up, which I think is more reasonable, about 135. But if I had to guess, my targets, which I did, I don't even know how many months ago, last year sometime, are actually up here. Come on, get out to the 3-day. I believe you, TradeView. These are the targets. I think this is sort of the safe zone. Let me move this up. Golly, come on. Right here. The safe top, I think, is going to be somewhere here in the $150 to $200 range. And parabolic starts getting in that $327 range. But the question is, and the reason why it's so difficult right now to talk about this and really assess where these things can go, is because the shape of these markets is changing, where we should be coming into the end of the market cycle. In July, we just finally opened the doorway for altcoins to really have a reasonable stance on Wall Street with the Genius Act, with the Stablecoin Act, now with the market structure bill that's coming out. These things are getting passed into legislation. And we finally have, yes, we have an Ethereum ETF, but now we also have Ethereum corporate treasuries with Tom Lee stacking $20 billion of buys coming into Ethereum. We got, was that Bitmine, SharpLink. We've got so many different things right now that are changing the landscape for what it may look like for altcoins. And I think there's going to be some winners and some very big losers in this market. But you pointed this out earlier, TJ, and that is, I think everybody's expecting this alt season where you throw a dart at anything in alts and everything's going to be absolutely going parabolic like it did back in 2017, back in 2020. I think there's going to be a little bit focused in niches, and it's not going to be everything moving. I think we're going to have this oscillation of different niches that are also not even directly tied to the crypto ecosystem. Like AI is going to run when the AI narrative in traditional markets is running also, whereas DeFi might be running on its own schedule. Whereas you see gaming and, that whole sector, it's going to depend on what's happening in the market and what's actually getting deployed. Would you agree with that?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I keep telling people, we're big advocates of DeFi. We use it a lot, and I believe, DeFi stands for decentralized finance. I believe it is just the future of finance. And so if you think about the finance industry, like you just mentioned, different markets run at different times. DeFi projects, I think, will continue to perform well throughout bear markets and sideways markets. It's actually a lot easier in the sideways markets, in my opinion. I mean, it's great when everything's going up, but if the longer you spend time in this space, you make money if the price is going up, down, or sideways. And that's what I love about DeFi. You see DeFi crypto airdrops in the chat. That's one of our sister channels. We do all kinds of videos on how to use these platforms, not just hold the coins. Use Aerodrome, use Morpho. You can use Aave. You can use Aster. For example, World Liberty Fi, we were mostly farming that for volume on fees rather than, and it's stayed in a pretty tight range. So it's been pretty easy. I think I don't know where it's at now, but it's been around 20 cents for a while, 22, 25, somewhere in there. So you can tighten up those ranges and be the liquidity provider. And that's what's really cool about the tech innovation that DeFi has created. It's like, you can now be the market maker. You can be the exchange. You can be the liquidity provider, and you make fees on the volume. But you just, once you've got some assets to work with, and then you just compound those. Sure, you'll sell them at some point. But let's hit the top story of the day, the ETFs. That's one of the most bullish things.
Dude, I've got it queued up. I was waiting for you to wrap it up, sucker. We were talking again about, let's remember this, the others chart. Remember everything outside of the top 10. And this is going to be important because then we look at the total 3 here. This is everything other than Bitcoin and ETH. And this to me looks like it's just getting set up, like the tension's there to pop. And don't forget, Bitcoin also has the tightest Bollinger Bands that it's ever had on the monthly, meaning big volatility inbound. And then you get this story right here where the legislation's clearing the path, capital's getting interested, and now we see also the change in the ETF requirements that is basically fast tracking crypto ETFs. That news story came out, I think, about 2 weeks ago. And now we see October is ETF month. And this isn't just Bitcoin ETFs. This is 16 crypto funds await final decisions. This will be enormous next few weeks for spot crypto ETFs as the SEC is due to decide on 16 applications. Well, what are they? What are the dates? Well, we got October 2nd. We got October 10th. We've got October 24th. But most importantly, this is that graphic. And people say we're near a top. And I'm seeing the Wall Street opening up its doors. Now, while this is fully bullish, I want to highlight something. As bullish as I am, and I want you all to pay attention to this, the Bitcoin price action. This is a run up into the Bitcoin ETF right here. ETF went live here on this is on the weekly, but on January 10th, on the 11th, they went live. And one of the biggest impacts to Bitcoin's legitimacy on the world stage was this approval. And yet we still saw over a 20% drop afterwards. So while this is exciting, this is something that for me, keeping things on our radar, realizing the changing landscape, realizing the different capital channels coming in, realizing that the plumbing of the entire global financial, global trade, global commerce structure is moving on chain, becoming more integrated into blockchain. Digital assets that are providing those rails are going to see some major benefit, but not every one of them. But what strikes you about this image, TJ?
A couple different things. One, they've almost always with ETFs, they delay. And then if they're going to approve it, they do it on the final deadline. So we're coming up to the final deadline for a ton of these things in October. So what strikes me is I think that's 8 Solana ETFs and 7 XRP ETFs. So I think we will almost certainly, and we've been seeing updated filings on a lot of these things, the S1s and all the different forms that they have to file with the SEC. Obviously, the SEC has shifted its stance towards crypto to be much more favorable regulatory environment. So I think we see all of those ETFs get approved in October, which will open up a flood of new money coming into these assets, and will be a handful of different funds buying these things. I think Solana, if you take what we're looking at, this graphic right here, all those Solana ETFs going to be approved. They usually do them all at the same time because they don't want to be showing any favor to one fund manager or another. So if we see, say, 8 Solana ETFs get approved, the FTX distribution happen, Bitcoin up on the rise in a bullish environment, money printing on the horizon. We know David Sachs, who was very involved with a lot of the rulemaking within Washington, the crypto AI czar. He's been big in Solana. So I think Solana is going to have a massive Q4. That's one of the top altcoins I would be watching for Q4. And then XRP still has a very strong marketing community behind it. And seeing all those XRP ETFs get approved, I think all that happens. And we're going to start to really see a lot of altcoins having very, very bullish moves. I believe, is 250 the top for Solana approximately on all-time high?
295.
295. Okay.
Yeah. So I pushed up here about 295. Yeah, but I mean, this is go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I think we see it break that all-time high, and then it goes into price discovery mode. We could be looking at a $500 Solana much sooner than we think. There's even people out there looking at $1,000 Solana. So, and again,
it's just crazy how, these fibs work so beautifully. I've been highlighting this level for a long time because it's been a 5-year trend line, 4-year trend line from the top back here, rejections here, bounces here, rejection here. And it's just been fighting to finally break free of this. It did. Look, rejected the golden pocket, but then takes the next level, 786, comes back down, bear traps people. I think this is going to be one of those assets that's, and don't forget, everybody, if you feel like you missed the move, remember, we're still early. You missed a good portion of the move. This was a 35X, I believe, something ridiculous, right?
Yeah.
However, we're going to see oscillations along the way. And I do think that, remember how early we are in this financial structure, in this financial system getting integrated. So when you see Solana doing things like this, you see XRP, which was so suppressed for so long, finally getting some moves to the upside, depending on how these, what's all their claims and what they may or may not do with integrations with banks. There's a lot of still tension around that, but I'm excited for anybody that's holding XRP. I hope you make a lot of money. Near Protocol, which has been absolutely setting a base here, looking to take that stab to the upside. We're seeing this formation all over the charts. Avalanche had the same formation. Look at this, and already made the move. Is this foreshadowing what we're going to see in Ondo, in Near Protocol, having not made these moves yet? I think we are in for some absolute magic. And in fact, just as we're closing this out, I just want to highlight a chart that I published about 6 months ago, and that is this chart right here. It may look like a lot of writing, but let's just look at these, where we were, different parts of the cycle. This was the bear market, the cascading failures from Luna all the way into Voyager and BlockFi, all the way ending in the FTX collapse, where everybody thought the market was going to then collapse so much further. Turned out to be a base. But then we enter this regularly scheduled bull market. Great. But then right here on the ETFs, this started the stage of Bitcoin financialization, getting integrated into Wall Street. Incredible. And then we end up in this stage right here on the election day, and that is the world racing to stack Bitcoin and get their ducks in a row to whether they're going to mine, how they're going to incorporate, how they're going to interact, all of this. And so that's why I've had these targets up here for quite some time. And again, I think it's going to be right here on this likely target area, 180 to 225,000. And this would still be a muted price action top comparatively with previous cycles, while we have an exponential number or amount of capital that now has the ability to get exposure to Bitcoin. So everybody, I could not be more excited about where we're at in this time in history, with where we're at with all of you, the Disco fam. I do want to shout out down below in the description, get involved in our Discord. We got TJ in there, myself, DZ, Tim, Drew, and the DeFi crypto airdrops, Crypto Craig, John Dalton. we're doing things in there, morning streams, breaking down education. So much is going on behind the scenes in that Discord for the Disco fam. So I hope you guys get in there. And of course, our partners, Bitcoin IRA, Arculus. Do not mess this up, y'all. I know we threw an ad earlier, but I'm going to re-highlight this because this is important. Head over, take advantage of when you get deals like this for the best crypto cold storage solution there is. Do not dance around in this market and stack up, make good trades, and then lose it because you had a phishing attempt. Somebody, hacks you, scams you. Protect your crypto so you can protect your future. Just go to getarculus.com, use code DC20, DC20, get 20% off. It's our favorite, and I think one of the best crypto cold storage solutions there are. I just wanted to highlight them because they're one of the people that not only help us keep the lights on, but it gives us the ability to give you guys opportunities with good utility in the space, things that you need to function to operate in the most productive manner in this market.
It's a great product too. Easy to use. It's one that I would give my mom to set up. She could figure it out. I see you asking on X for the Discord link. If you guys are watching on X, just go to the Discover Crypto profile. The link is in the bio. That's the easiest way to get in there. If you're watching on YouTube, like Kelly just mentioned, it's in the description of the video. We've got all of our portfolios in there, like what we're buying, what we're selling. We also do daily trade setups, and when we take a long, when we take a short, we put it in there. Like he mentioned, all those different traders. John Dalton's crushing it. Josh is still putting his trades and stuff in there. And I did see a couple of questions asking about Josh. He has been traveling and sick as well. This thing's been kind of running through a lot of people here. So he will be back from time to time, but he is going to be our correspondent in the field, so to speak. He's going to be doing a lot more traveling here in the next 6 months, especially through kind of the end of Q1, Q2 next year. So he's still going to be involved, still going to be part of the Disco Crypto family. He actually is in the Discord the most these days because he is very committed to you guys and putting trades in there. He loves trading with you guys in the Discord. So still very much a part of the team, just on the streams a lot less. Kind of will be in our in the field correspondent. So I did want to answer those questions, but we love you all. Smash the like buttons on the way out, and we'll see you at the top.